Hola from Barcelona. Look, we have to be honest with you for a second. We were scrolling through some must-eat in Barcelona videos the other day, and while we have absolutely no problem with people eating whatever they fancy, we do it too. We even have a Malaysian spot here in Barcelona that we love and where we often go. The issue isn't what you eat, it's calling that essential Barcelona food. In the end, you see all those videos promising you the authentic experience, but half the time they are showing you dishes that have nothing to do with the city. And we don't want to be those people who complain, but the reality is Barcelona isn't just a generic food theme park. It has its own deep, specific culinary history that often gets totally ignored. Since we aren't just passing through for the weekend, we're going to do this right. Today, we're taking you through the typical local dishes, both savory and sweet, that actually define Barcelona. No tourist traps, no generic stuff you can find anywhere else in Spain. Just the real Barcelona grub that locals have been eating for generations. So if you're ready to eat like a local, let's go. Hola, ¿qué tal? Welcome to a channel made by two humans who live here in Spain, where we try to make your travels in Spain and Portugal happier with the help of our videos and of our self-guided walking tours. And if you need extra help planning, check out our channel memberships. Members get priority replies to all their comments and questions directly from us. Now, to keep ourselves honest and make sure we don't play favorites, we're doing this in a strict alphabetical order. No ranking, no drama, just the dishes you need to know. And stick around till the end because we've added a bonus section with the typical local drinks you absolutely have to order to go along with your food. Alright, let's kick this with A. Albóndigas con sepia, in Catalan, mandonguilles amb sepia. This means meatballs with cuttlefish. Now, we know what you might be thinking. Meatballs and seafood in the same dish? But this is a prime example of a core concept in Catalan cuisine we'll talk about in a minute. The idea is simply combining ingredients from the land with ingredients from the sea. And when it's done right, the flavors actually complement each other brilliantly. The meatballs are usually a mix of pork and beef, slow cooked in a very rich dark gravy made from a traditional base, alongside chunks of tender cuttlefish. We do have to warn you though, just from our recent experience, the last few times we've ordered this at local restaurants, we noticed the amount of cuttlefish on the plate was, shall we say, a little on the scarce side of things. It seems cuttlefish is getting more expensive and the meatballs are taking over. But honestly, even if you only get a few pieces of the seafood, that deep, complex sauce makes the dish totally worth it. A is also for arroz, rice dishes. Now, we know what you're thinking. Wait, shouldn't this be P for paella? Well, first a quick clarification. Paella is incredibly popular all over Spain, and of course you will find it in Barcelona, but the dish itself was actually born in Valencia, farther south down the Mediterranean coast. That is where the most classic traditional versions come from. Barcelona, on the other hand, has developed its own strong rice culture, and that's what we want to focus on here. This brings us to the first big secret to eating like a pro in this city. While the rest of the world comes to Barcelona looking specifically for paella, locals generally prefer to use the specific term that describes the rice dish they want to have, rather than a catch-all name. Don't get us wrong, there are fantastic places serving paella here, but in Barcelona as well as paella, the menu usually refers to these rice dishes simply by their main ingredient or preparation. It's not just semantics, it's about the variety. You will find a myriad of types of rice dishes across the city, but here are 4 we think you should absolutely try. First, Arroz caldoso. If you like soups, stews, you love this. It is cooked with a lot of broth, served in a deep clay pot and eaten with a spoon. It's incredibly comforting, with the rice swimming in a liquid packed with the flavor of the seafood or meat it's cooked in. Second, you have Arroz meloso. This is a fascinating concept if you're a texture person. The word comes from miel, honey, describing its unctuous, honeyed consistency. It sits perfectly between a dry paella and the soupy caldoso. It's creamy and moist, very similar to the texture of a perfect risotto, but without using cream or cheese. It's all about the starch and the cooking method. Third, look for Arroz montaña. Now, this isn't about the texture of the rice itself, it's about the ingredients. Montaña means sea and mountain, and it's a core concept of Catalan cuisine where you combine proteins from both worlds in one dish. So, in a rice dish, you might find chicken and prawns or sausage and cuttlefish together. This surf and turf philosophy extends way beyond rice. You will also find iconic pairings like the meatballs with cuttlefish we just saw, or chicken with lobster. And finally, the real local superstar, Arroz Negro, black rice. This is a true Catalan and Mediterranean icon made by cooking the rice with squid or cuttlefish and tinting it with their ink, which gives it that deep black color and a rich briny flavor. And here's the pro tip. It is usually served with a generous spoonful of alioli, garlic mayonnaise, on top or on the side, and mixing that into the inky rice is as close as you get to the taste of a slow Barcelona lunch by the sea. Now, if you happen to share my partner Cecilia's deeply held, completely non-negotiable position on garlic, you may want to skip that part. The rest of us will be over here making the most of it. Alright, we're moving on to the letter B, and our first stop is a true Barcelona classic, Bacallá a la llauna. Let's break down the name. Bacallá is Catalan for salted cod, a historical staple in this part of the world. And a la llauna literally means in the tin, which is exactly how it's cooked and often served. This isn't a fancy dish, it's a testament to how much flavor you can coax from simple ingredients. Here's how it works. A beautiful loin of salted cod is dusted with flour and pan-fried, then placed in that signature metal tray. It's finished in the oven with a sauce made from fried garlic, sweet paprika and a splash of white wine, and it usually comes to the table still sizzling, and it's absolutely phenomenal. You will often find it served with a side of white beans, making it a super satisfying and complete meal. This dish is pure Catalan comfort. If you see it on a menu, you know you're in a place that respects tradition. Next with B, and this one is pure Barcelona bar culture, the Bomba de la Barceloneta, also known as Bombeta. First thing to know, this is not a proper dish, it's a tapa, a humble bar snack that has somehow become one of the symbols of the city. Picture a deep-fried bowl of mashed potato, usually stuffed with a minced meat filling, then served with 2 sauces on top, a mild alioli and a hotter red sauce that gives it a bit of a kick. You will find bombas all over Barcelona now, from old-school taverns to more modern tapas bars, and almost every place put its own little twist on the shape, size or spiciness. But the origin story points very clearly to La Barceloneta, the old fisherman's neighborhood by the sea, and that's why you'll often see it called Bomba de la Barceloneta. There are even a couple of legendary bars in La Barceloneta that claim to be the birthplace of the bomba. It's one of the easiest, most affordable bites you can order to feel like you are in a genuine Barcelona bar rather than a generic tapas joint. We are sticking with B because we simply cannot skip this. If Catalonia had a national dish, this would be it. Botifarra and mongetes. And we use the Catalan name here. It sounds incredibly simple, and it is. It's grilled sausage served with white beans. But don't let the simplicity fool you. This is the dish that defines Catalan comfort food. The Botifarra is a pork sausage seasoned just with salt and pepper, no paprika, no garlic overload, so the flavor is very clean and meaty. And the beans, these aren't just boiled and thrown onto the plate. They are usually fried in the same pan where the sausage was cooked, soaking up all those delicious juices and pork fat until they get crispy on the outside and creamy on the inside. Botifarra is also sometimes served with fries instead of beans. Locals love the dish so much they'll even eat it for breakfast. We are not kidding. It's a staple of the esmorzar de forquilla fork breakfast, which is the Catalan way of saying a breakfast for champions. So if you want to understand the soul of this place without any fancy pretenses, order this. It's rustic, it's hearty, and it's 100% local. Next up is C, and C is for calçots. Even among non-Catalan speakers, we only refer to them using the Catalan name. A calçot is a type of green onion similar to a large spring onion or scallion, grown using a specific technique where soil is mounded up around the stalk as it grows, keeping it white, tender and sweet. The result is something milder and more delicate than a regular onion, and it's made to be grilled. Now, this one is important. Calçots are absolutely a Catalan classic, but they were not born in Barcelona. They come from inland areas like Valls down in the province of Tarragona, and that's still where you will find the most traditional celebrations around them. More than a dish, calçots are a social event. The whole thing revolves around the calçotada, big gatherings usually in rural houses or countryside restaurants where people grill huge bunches of calçots over open flames, then eat them standing up, wearing bibs, dipping them into romesco sauce and chasing them with plenty of wine. It's smoky, messy and very communal. They are seasonal too. The main calçot season runs roughly from late autumn through early spring, with the peak months in winter. If you come to Barcelona in July and ask for them, you are probably out of luck. If you are staying in Barcelona in winter, you can absolutely still try them. Lots of restaurants in the city put on calçot menus during the season, and you'll see them grilled and served on hot tiles just like in the countryside. You will miss a bit of the rural party atmosphere of a full-on calçotada, but as a window into Catalan food culture, they are still one of the most fascinating things you can eat here. And trust us on this one, there is a real art to eating them gracefully. The technique of holding the calçot high, peeling off the burnt outer layer with one hand and dipping it into the sauce without getting black ash and romesco all over yourself takes practice. Let's just say our first few attempts were a complete disaster. So if they offer you a bib, take it, you will not regret it. We are staying with C because we'll have to talk about Canelones, cannelloni. Now, you might be looking at this and thinking, wait, isn't that Italian food? And you are right, it is obviously an import. But this is arguably the best example of how Barcelona takes an international dish and adopts it so wholeheartedly that it effectively becomes their own. Catalans fell in love with this pasta decades ago through Italian chefs working for the Catalan bourgeoisie, but they tweaked their recipe to suit their tastes. Unlike the Italian version, which often uses minced meat and tomato sauce, the Barcelona style is all about elegance. The filling is made from meat that has been roasted first and then ground down to a super smooth paste. And there's no tomato sauce inside. It's smoothed entirely into a rich, creamy white sauce and gratinated with cheese. It is a traditional dish for St. Stephen's Day on December 26th. Historically, locals love them so much that you will find them on menus year round. Another C, and this one is for the adventurous eaters, cap y pota. Once again, we just use the Catalan name for this dish. The name literally translates to head and leg, which gives you a pretty good clue about what's going on here. This is one of the most traditional stews in Catalan cuisine, and it is absolutely not for everyone. But if you love nose to tail eating, this is your holy grail. It's made with tripe along with the gelatinous parts from the head and the leg of the calf. It's slow cooked for hours with chorizo until the sauce becomes incredibly thick, sticky and rich from all that natural gelatin. This is real old school working class food. You won't find it in the trendy tourist spots, but walk into any traditional eating house in the neighborhoods and you will see locals wiping the plate clean with bread. It's intense, sticky and deeply flavorful, a true relic of Barcelona's history. And while we're still on sea, there's another classic we really want you to know about, Coca de recapte. Think of it as Catalonia's answer to a rustic open flatbread. It's a thin dough base baked in the oven and topped with roasted vegetables like red peppers and onions, and sometimes things like sausage, sardines, or other bits and pieces you have on hand. The word recapte basically refers to whatever provisions you've got, which is why there isn't just one official version of this. What makes it special is that it's not just something you find in bakeries and village festivals. It's also something many Catalan families prepare at home, especially in smaller towns and for informal gatherings. You will spot it in plenty of bakeries and some traditional bars in Barcelona, usually served at room temperature, cut into rectangles. If you see a tray of what it looks like Spanish focaccia, covered in roasted veg, don't overthink it, grab a slice of Coca de recapte and you are tasting a very everyday side of Catalan food. So we're finally wrapping up the letter C with the most famous dessert in the region, Crema Catalana, Catalan cream. You probably know what this is. It's often called the ancestor of the French crème brûlée. It's a rich custard flavored with lemon zest and cinnamon, finished with that iconic layer of burnt sugar on top that you have to crack with your spoon. And honestly, I'll tell you right now, if I see this on a dessert menu, I look no further. It is my absolute weakness. I don't care what else I have, this is what I'm ordering. Now here's the funny thing, even though this has total national dish status, do not expect a Lisbon situation. You know how in Lisbon you can find a pastel de nata custard cake on literally every corner? That is not the case here. You can just walk down the street and grab a crema catalana to go. It's a dessert you sit down for. While many restaurants serve it, the quality changes widely. Avoid the ones that look industrial. If you want the real deal, your best bet is to head to a granja. These are the historic milk bars scattered around the old city. Places like Granja Viader or Granja Dulcinea have been making it the traditional way for generations, and sitting there with a clay pot of crema catalana is a whole different experience than ordering it off a tourist menu. E is for Escalivada. Escalivada is one of those dishes that sounds almost too simple to be interesting, but once you taste it, you understand why it has survived for centuries. It is roasted vegetables, usually red peppers, eggplant and onions, that are charred over an open flame or in the oven until the skin blackens and the flesh goes soft and sweet. Once they cool down, you peel off the skins, slice them into strips and dress them with good olive oil, a pinch of salt and sometimes a little garlic. What makes it so good is the smokiness. When you char those vegetables properly, they develop this deep, almost meaty flavor that's a world away from steamed or boiled veg. You'll see it served as a tapa, as a side dish, or piled on top of a toasted bread. It's one of those dishes that looks deceptively humble on the plate, but showcases exactly what Catalan cooking is about. Taking a few quality ingredients, treating them with respect, and letting the natural flavors do the work. Also beginning with E, we have another dish you cannot miss, especially if you are visiting during the warmer months. Esqueixada. Made with salted cod, this is arguably the most famous summer salad in the region. The word esqueixada basically means to tear or shred in Catalan, and that is the secret here. The salted cod is never cut with a knife, it is always torn by hand to preserve the right texture, and then it's mixed with chopped tomatoes, onions, sometimes red and green peppers, and black olives, before being heavily dressed with good extra virgin olive oil and a little vinegar. It's incredibly fresh, light, and perfectly balances the salty kick of the cod with the sweetness of the tomatoes. If you see this on a terrace menu on a hot Barcelona afternoon, order it immediately. Now we get to F, and F is for Fideuá. Just like paella, Fideuá was born farther south in Valencia, on the coast around places like Gandia, not in Catalonia. It was originally created by fishermen who swapped rice for short pasta noodles, but kept the same idea of cooking everything together in a wide pan with fish stock and seafood. Over time, though, it became so popular up the coast that it has been completely absorbed into Catalan culinary culture, to the point where seeing Fideuá on a weekend menu in a Barcelona restaurant or along the Costa Brava feels totally normal. The key difference from paella is that the rice is replaced by thin noodles. So you get this great contrast between the chewy pasta and the crispy bits on top. It's almost always made with seafood, think prawns, squid, mussels. And just like with Arroz Negro, the move that really makes it sing is a generous spoonful of alioli on the side. Mixing that garlic mayo into the noodles and seafood is one of those flavors that instantly says Mediterranean coast more than any postcard ever could. Staying with the letter F, we have one of the great Catalan recipes, Fricandó. This is a slow-cooked veal stew, but not in big chunks like you might expect. The meat is sliced very thin, almost like scallops, then seared and simmered in a rich sauce made from a slow-cooked onion and tomato base and lots of mushrooms, traditionally wild ones. The result is this silky, deeply flavored sauce where the veal almost melts into the mushrooms. It's the kind of dish that feels very Sunday lunch at grandma's. You will often see it as a daily special in traditional restaurants rather than a permanent menu item, especially in the colder months. If you spot Fricandó on a chalkboard menu of the day, that's usually a very good sign you are in a place that still cooks the old school Catalan way. Skipping ahead to M, we are back to dessert with a true medieval classic, mel y mató. The name says it all. Mel is honey and mató is a fresh unsalted cheese made from cow or goat's milk. It's similar to ricotta but with a firmer, slightly grainier texture. The combination is simplicity itself, just a slice of that cold fresh cheese drowned in local honey. It's light, it's not too sweet, and it's the perfect way to end a heavy meal. Now, if you are planning a day trip to Montserrat, and you should, and by the way, we'll have a whole detailed video on exactly how to do that trip, check the link below, that is the absolute best place to try mel y mató. The local farmers sell their own homemade mató right there at the market stalls outside the monastery. You can't get closer to the source than that. But if you are staying in the city, don't worry. Remember those granjas we mentioned earlier for the Crema Catalana? They are also fantastic spots to try mel y mató in a historic setting. Okay, on to the letter P. And honestly, this might be the single most important entry in this entire video. Pan con tomate, or in Catalan, pan tomáquet. This is it, the cornerstone of Catalan cuisine. It looks deceptively simple. It's bread with tomato, but it is so much more than that. The proper way involves toasting a good slice of rustic bread, often rubbing it with a raw garlic clove first, then taking a ripe tomato, slicing it in half, and rubbing its pulp directly onto the bread until it's stained red. Finish it with a generous drizzle of good olive oil and a sprinkle of salt, and you're done. Now, for a quick language lesson that will make you sound like a pro. The original Catalan name, we've seen it, is pan tomáquet. But here's where it gets interesting. You will find pan con tomate, bread with tomato, all over Spain, especially in the south, where it's a hugely popular breakfast. But it's only this specific Catalan version, the one prepared by rubbing the tomato directly into the bread, that people outside Catalonia call by the nickname pan tomaca. You might be wondering, so it's just toast with tomato, but that's missing the point. It's not a recipe, it's a fundamental gesture. It's the default way bread is served here. You order an omelette, it comes with pan tomáquet. You order cured meats, they will come with bread with tomato. It's the canvas for everything else, and once you have it made with the right bread and good flavorful tomatoes, you will understand why it's a non-negotiable part of almost every meal. We are landing now on T for Trinxat. This is proper mountain comfort food, originally from up in the Catalan Pyrenees, and it has slowly made its way onto Barcelona menus as a kind of ambassador of the interior countryside. At its core, Trinxat is just three things: cabbage, potatoes, and pork. The cabbage and potatoes are boiled, then trinxat, literally chopped up or mashed together, before being pan-fried into a kind of rustic cake, usually topped or cooked with pieces of salted pork belly or bacon. In Barcelona, you will often see it in more traditional restaurants and winter menus, and it's one of those dishes that quietly tells you you are not in a tourist restaurant anymore. And for our final stop on this alphabetical tour, we're landing on X for Xatonada. This is one of the most distinctive and traditional salads you will find in Catalonia, originating from the coastal towns just south of the city of Barcelona. It's a dish that perfectly captures the region's love for strong, bold flavors. The base is surprisingly simple: curly endive leaves, which give it a slightly bitter crunch. But what goes on top is where the magic happens. It's loaded with cod, anchovy fillets, might have tuna, and good quality olives. However, the real start of the show is the sauce. It looks a bit like the famous romesco sauce, but it has its own unique profile. It's made from toasted almonds, hazelnuts, garlic, olive oil, vinegar, and most importantly, small dried red peppers. The sauce is thick, nutty, slightly tangy, and ties all those salty fish flavors together perfectly. It's often eaten as a starter during the winter months, and it's a perfect final dish to wrap up your true local Barcelona food experience. So there you have it, from A all the way to X. That is the real taste of Barcelona. And frankly, after talking about all of this food, we are absolutely starving. Let's take a quick coffee break here to distract us from the food. If you have found this video helpful, you can support the channel in two ways. Invite us for a coffee as a thank you, or hit the join button to become a member. Either way helps us keep making these videos. Now let's go back to another fundamental part of the video. Right, so the drinks, because you can't have a proper local meal without knowing what to put in your glass. Here's our quick bonus round of the typical local drinks you should be ordering to wash all of these down. Before you even sit down at the table for your meal, you might want to engage in the very Catalan tradition of el Vermut. Now, if you hear Vermut and immediately think of a dusty bottle of martini sitting at the back of a liquor cabinet used only for cocktails, you need to hit reset. Here, Vermut is the main event. The local drink is typically a sweet, dark red vermouth, made by fortifying white wine with a complex blend of botanicals, herbs, and spices and then coloring it with caramel. It's usually served on the rocks, often with a green olive and a slice of orange. It is sweet, slightly bitter, incredibly herbal, and dangerously easy to drink. But Vermut is more than just ordering a beverage. It's an entire social ritual. It usually happens on weekends, right around midday before lunch. Friends and families gather at small neighborhood bars or bodegas to catch up. And you never just drink the vermouth on its own, it always comes accompanied by salty snacks. Think potato chips or olives. It is the perfect, relaxed way to build up an appetite before the main meal. If you want to feel like a true local on a Sunday morning, this is exactly where you start. Now, if you don't drink alcohol or you just want something refreshing with your meal, you might be tempted to just order agua con gas, sparkling water. If you do, there is a very high chance they are going to bring you a bottle of Vichy Catalan. You need to know about this water because it's not like the Perrier or San Pellegrino you might be used to. Vichy Catalan is iconic here, but it definitely catches visitors off guard. It comes from a thermal spring up in the province of Girona and it is naturally sparkling. But what really sets it apart is the flavor. It has a very high mineral content which makes it remarkably salty. The first sip is usually a bit of a shock if you aren't expecting it. It's one of those love it or hate it things, but locals swear by it, not just for the taste, but because it's famous for helping with digestion, especially after eating some of those heavier dishes we talked about earlier. So, if you order sparkling water, give the salty bubbles of Vichy Catalan a try. It's a truly authentic taste of the region. Alright, let's move on to the main event. There is one drink you absolutely must associate with Barcelona and Catalonia. Let's give a warm welcome to the true local star, Cava. This is Catalonia's answer to champagne, and we don't say that lightly. Cava is made using the exact same traditional method as its famous French cousin, meaning the second fermentation, the part that creates those beautiful bubbles, happens right inside the bottle. While it's often made with different local grapes, mainly Macabeo, Parellada and Xarel·lo, the result is a fantastic high-quality sparkling wine that is crisp, refreshing and incredibly versatile. In many parts of the world, sparkling wine is saved just for toasts or special occasions. Here, you drink it throughout the entire meal. It cuts through the richness of a heavy stew or a creamy rice dish perfectly. And the best part is that it's incredibly affordable. You can get an excellent bottle of Cava at a restaurant for a fraction of what you would pay for champagne. By the way, if you love sparkling wine, the birthplace of Cava, a town called Sant Sadurní d'Anoia, is a super easy half-day trip from Barcelona. We actually have a whole video where we visit the town and tour the cellars, so make sure you check that out on the channel if you want to see where the magic happens. And then we have a section for beer fans because Barcelona is home to two of the oldest beer manufacturers in Spain. Damm was founded right here in Barcelona in 1876 by two cousins from Alsace who settled in the city and opened a small brewery with a simple dream: to brew a beer adapted to the Mediterranean climate, lighter and crisper than the heavy Central European styles they had grown up with. The beer they created, Estrella Damm, is still brewed to that original recipe using three natural ingredients: barley malt, rice and hops. It's crisp, light and incredibly refreshing, perfectly designed for warm Mediterranean afternoons, which frankly describes a Barcelona summer to a T. If you order just one beer during your visit to Barcelona, make it this one. It doesn't get more Barcelona than that. The good news for beer lovers is that you can visit Damm's old factory right in the center of Barcelona. It occupies an entire city block. The active brewery has since moved to the outskirts of the city and can also be visited, but honestly, while quite interesting, it doesn't have the charm and character of the historic building, so we'd go for the old one every time. The visit is divided into two parts. First, you will explore the beautifully restored premises and learn about the history of the brewery and how Estrella Damm came to be. The second half will probably be the highlight for most people, a beer tasting led by one of the brewery's own beer masters. You get to try 5 completely different beers from the same producer and discover what makes each one distinct. It's fun, it's delicious, and it makes for a brilliant evening plan in Barcelona, especially if you're traveling with someone who is hard to impress. We can say that with full confidence because we did it ourselves and we're still talking about it. That's usually a good sign. We'll drop a link in the first pinned comment below the video to Barcelona's official tourism website where you can book the visit directly. It's an affiliate link, you know how it works. You pay exactly the same price, but we get a small commission when someone books through our link. It's a simple way of supporting the channel if you find our content useful, and we genuinely appreciate it. The second Barcelona beer is Moritz, a young man from Alsace. Yes, also from Alsace. What were they putting in the water there? Arrived in Barcelona and began brewing his own beer in 1856, making Moritz the first beer ever produced in Barcelona. The brewery closed its doors in 1978, but in 2004 descendants of the original founder relaunched the brand, and today the restored factory on Ronda Sant Antoni, the very same building from 1864, brilliantly redesigned by the architect Jean Nouvel, is another landmark for beer lovers. It is part brewery, part restaurant, and practically a museum. Honestly, even if you don't touch a drop of beer, the building alone is worth a look. In Fábrica Moritz, you can have your own beer tasting. It won't be guided by an expert, but it is still delicious if you like beer. The tasting can be ordered off the menu and it includes 4 different beers. No reservation needed, no expert commentary. Just you and 4 very good reasons to stay a little longer. And finally, we have saved one of the best for last. Horchata de chufa, often just called horchata, is one of Spain's most beloved summer drinks. It looks creamy and milky, but there is no dairy in the traditional recipe. Instead, it's made with chufas, tiger nuts, which are actually small tubers. They are soaked, ground, and blended with water and sugar to create a light, slightly nutty drink that's always served cold. Horchata has its roots in Valencia, where the drink first became popular, but it has been wholeheartedly adopted by Barcelona. Walk through almost any neighborhood in the city during the warmer months and you will find a horchateria. Locals take their horchata seriously. Across the city you will find it in 2 main venues. Those dedicated horchaterias, which specialize in it, and heladerias, ice cream parlors, where it's sold alongside ice creams. Do not leave Barcelona without trying this at least once. Find an horchateria, grab a seat outside and let a cold glass of horchata remind you exactly why you came to this city. Horchata is not the only local treasure we'd like to share. We have something we want to talk about because if you've enjoyed this video so far, you are going to love what we have been working on. In our self-guided walking tours, we put everything we know about experiencing a city the right way, not as a tourist, but as someone who actually belongs here. And if you truly want to experience Barcelona and other incredible Spanish destinations like a true local, let us be your guide. We designed our self-guided walking tours precisely so you can skip the clunky guidebooks and the crowded tour groups. They come packed with detailed itineraries and everything you need to discover the heart of each city. It's literally like having a local friend show you all the best hidden spots, the ones you won't find on a generic map. We hope this list of food and drinks helps you navigate the menus with a little more confidence next time you're here. Trust us, there is nothing better than ordering with confidence and actually knowing what you're about to eat. If you are planning a trip to Barcelona, don't stop here. We have an entire collection of videos, you can see them on the screen right now, dedicated to Barcelona, from day trips to accommodation, transportation, food. So click on that playlist to keep exploring with us. Thanks for watching, enjoy every bite, and we'll see you in the next one. Adeu!